Hello, Maddie here. Thank you for coming back for another week, another book here on my channel. Or if this is your first time, welcome. We talk all things book, emotionally safe reads with the Maddie guarantee, which means at the end of the books, you'll get your happily ever after, meaning your couple will be alive and together. I can't guarantee that other people won't die, that there aren't going to be really rough parts in the book, but the ending will be what we hoped for, unless explicitly told otherwise, because I have a very, very small handful of books that don't follow the Maddie guarantee, but I always give that specific warning if it doesn't. So you can generally assume anything I recommend on here is going to get that happily ever after. This week, we are talking about The Statistical Probability of Love at First Sight by Jennifer Smith. Try saying that name 10 times fast. Oh, wait, just kidding. I'm not gonna. But it's funny when I will talk to people about this book, or especially when I was reading it, and I'd be like, oh, like, what are you reading? I'm like, oh, I'm reading The Statistical Probability of Love at First Sight, which you can't like slur through because it sounds like statistical first sight. You're like, I don't know what you're talking about. So it is definitely a mouthful, that's for sure. But it's a very good book. So before we get into it, let's read that synopsis, shall we? Who would have guessed that 4 minutes could change everything? Today should be one of the worst days of 17-year-old Hadley Sullivan's life. Having missed her flight, she's stuck at JFK Airport and late to her father's second wedding, which is taking place in London and involves a soon-to-be stepmother Hadley's never even met. When she meets the perfect boy in the airport's cramped waiting area, his name is Oliver, he's British, and he's sitting in her row. A long night on the plane passes in the blink of an eye, and Hadley and Oliver lose track of each other in the airport chaos upon arrival. Can fate intervene to bring them together once more? Set over a 24-hour period, this is a cinematic novel about family connections, second chances, and first love. I wrote the blog for this book 5 years ago in 2020, and it's a great book, and we are going to talk about it's a great book. But there's going to be basically an addendum blog to go with this video because since then, a movie has come out. And I don't remember the name of it because it is not called The Statistical Probability of Love at First Sight. It has a much simpler name. So yeah, it's just called Love at First Sight, which is obviously just the second part of this book. Instead of the Statistical Probability of Love at First Sight, it's just Love at First Sight. And it is the same story, same characters, same names, same plotline. And honestly, for a retelling of chick lit, which tends to deviate pretty regularly, which is frustrating, it actually follows the story really, really closely. As said in the synopsis, Hadley and Oliver meet at the airport and are then sat next to each other or in the same row and then sit next to each other, something, on the flight from New York to London. And they get separated, but obviously stuff happens. The kind of frustrating thing is there's one very big difference. It follows it very insanely closely. Like it is actually the book, which like I said, that doesn't happen all that often. Even though chick lit, as I call this, it's like chick flicks, but it's literature, so it's chick lit. Anyways, when chick lit gets turned into movies, they often just change things that you're like, why did you bother changing that? Like, why did you need to do that? And like, it doesn't necessarily change the story, but you're like, that's just annoying. Like, why couldn't you have just done what the book says? And I feel like this book to movie doesn't fall into that trap. It actually does a really good job of being the book, but in movie form. But like I was saying, there's one very big difference. And it doesn't change the story, but like it matters. And it adjusts some of the conversations, especially towards the latter half of the book. Or movie, I guess. The issue is I can't even allude to what it is or it gives away like the big twist of the book. So I can't even give you a warning, and I don't want this to be a spoiler full video. So you're kind of just gonna have to take my word for it that like it's okay. Like that change it's a very big change, and I don't know necessarily why they did it. Like it's one thing that they changed in two ways. They changed like the person and the event. I'm trying to be so vague. They changed the person and the event of this thing. Changing the person doesn't really matter, but changing the event, it makes the conversations different. And so I don't really know how I feel about that. It does not change the story. It doesn't change like the overall cuteness of their relationship, or I guess love at first sightness, because it's not actually a relationship, even necessarily by the end of the movie or book, because it happens over a 24-hour period and they're not super old. I want to say she's like senior-ish age and he's like freshman, sophomore in college. It's something like that, where they are in similar-ish life stages, but not quite the same life stages. And I believe they are from the same area and he goes to college in like her town, or she's about to go to college in his town, something like that. So that the long distance isn't necessarily a factor into if they can be together or not. But he's from London and she's from the US. That doesn't matter. These are all things you find out very early on in the book. So I'm not giving anything away. If you were to read the book or watch the movie, that was so much rambling to say the movie is very good, but there is one very big difference. But I don't think it fundamentally changes the story. It's just kind of like I said, I think they were using it to like prompt conversations, but I don't totally get it, like why they felt the need to do it. Anyways, why should you even read this book or watch this movie? That's what these videos are supposed to be about. Like, why? It's usually me trying to convince you that this book is worth reading. It's worth your time. It is worth you checking out from the library, getting from Libby, because we love supporting our local library, especially now that my little sister is working towards being a librarian. So, extra reason to support your local library. Why should you read this book? I don't think I read it till college, if I remember correctly, but it's that idea you could find love at the airport or like sit next to somebody on the airplane that could like be your person. I think that's a trope, isn't the word I want to use, but and fantasy's not quite right either, but it's just a scenario that is very cute and endearing and just like, oh, life just threw us together and we were meant to be. And so this is a book that just dives into that. Like, what if you were sat next to them? What happens next? What is that? Not only what does that initial interaction look like, but yeah, what comes next? What happens when you get to the airport and you have places to be, things to do, because you're obviously traveling somewhere? What happens next? Especially for these two characters, they're both going through some very large life changes. Oliver's, you don't know yet, but Hadley is going to her father's second wedding and she isn't the most excited about it. So they've got big life changes. So also on top of the like, oh, I could have just met my person, it's also like, but I'm going through things. And what does that look like? And how does that translate into adding a person into my life when I have all these things going on? But you still get the cute and the fun and not only the self-discovery, but discovery of another person, even how difficult it can be to open up to another person. Because that's like kind of part of the whole thing is that Oliver just has a very hard time opening up about the things that he's going through. Because for him, it's a very real struggle because it's not at all like what Hadley's going through. Not at all, but it is very different from what Hadley's going through. Him opening up and him telling her about his life and his struggles and what's going on and why he's doing what he's doing and why he is where he is and all of those things. Really, it's taking this cute idea of what if you met your soulmate at the airport and you were sitting next to them on the airplane, and just translating into what those conversations look like and what do you even say or how do you even broach the conversation. And it's very cute. It's very fun. And I highly recommend this book. It is all the possibilities. And I think that's like books in general. That's why I like reading what I read. It's all these possibilities of life and love. And we're all only given one life, and books allow you to live a million lives. And it's one of those things where it's like, I don't want to change my life. I like my life. I love my husband. I love my marriage. I want to be where I am. And we didn't meet at the airport. We also didn't meet on a vacation across the world. We didn't, he wasn't given my number at a bar because the girl didn't want to give him his number or her number. All of the things you can think of, all of the cute scenarios that we've come up with now that we've decided are adorable and we want our story to be that thing. We aren't those things. We have our own cute things and our own cute scenarios that worked out for us. But I don't have those stories. And while I'm not sad I haven't lived those stories, I get to live them in my own way through reading. And so this book gives you that one scenario that most of us will not live out. There are definitely people who have met at airports and flown to places and fallen in love and stayed together, gotten married, etc. That's not most of us. And that's fine. It doesn't need to be most of us because we get these lovely, lovely books with lovely characters and hard moments and hard conversations, but like worthwhile perseverance. And I think that's what's so cool about books in general. This book specifically is going into like, a specific scenario, but that's what's so beautiful about books is the millions of lives you get to lead. And while I will probably, I don't even know if it's possible. Could you read a million books in a lifetime? That seems kind of insane. I don't think it's possible. I'll have to look that up. While I will obviously never read millions of books in a lifetime. And it's not even just books, but if you think about like TV shows and movies, but also like short stories like novellas. If you add them all up, maybe you could get to a million. Because there are all these things you get to live, it's an easy way to not feel like you're missing out, but that also needs to be balanced with having a life that you love and not missing out on life because you are only indulging in fictional worlds. While I highly encourage you to read this book, I also encourage you to live your life, fill it with love, with family, friends, romantic interest, and just reminding yourself to one, like live in the moment because so many wonderful things happen in the present. But two, don't be sad if you feel like you're missing out on something because if you have a great, wonderful, full life, there's lots of things you're going to miss out on, but you don't have to if you read. So it's literally the best of both worlds in my mind. You can have a wonderful, full life and still get all these experiences that you're not going to experience in real life. So you get both sides of it. And I think it's really beautiful and wonderful. And I don't feel like this video makes sense because I like the point that I'm making. So hopefully it makes sense. Hopefully you enjoy this video. Hopefully you enjoy this book. Hopefully you watch this movie. It's on Netflix. It's called Love at First Sight. I'm going to be making a short addendum blog that will so the original blog will get posted, but also the like addendum blog will also get posted in the description of this video. So you can go read both of those if you so choose. I hope you like these ramblings. I hope you like my little bit of life advice of live it to the fullest, but don't bog yourself down by feeling like you're missing out on things. We all only get to live one life. So live it and enjoy it and fill it with love. That's all I have for you guys. Read this book and come back for the next one. With all of that, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Hope you have a great night, great week, great weekend, great month, great year. Hope you have all the greats because you're truly worthy and deserving of them. So until next time, 再见. Bye.